migrate over to services. Now, services is a little more dense, so we'll have a few topics here. So because systems are varied and they're different, and we have clients coming from many different applications, different providers, one of the things that they're surprised to figure out is, where does the queuing happen? Most folks think, okay, once I send a call to a group, that's where it's queued. In most cases, in a lot of cases, that's the case. However, with ECC, there's this process called a service. The service is actually the queue. So when you're looking at setting up the configuration, this is where all the queuing takes place. Now, what sets the service aside, and apart from just a general group queue, is that the service can see multiple groups simultaneously. Most systems will go to group A. 30 seconds later, if the overflow timeout lapses, the call rolls to group B, and the net result is that I no longer have access to group A in that scenario, and that's just too critical for a contact center. I need to be able to see what is going on across those groups, because what happens if an agent becomes available in group A a split second after the overflow timer elapsed? So many of the common queue options are configured here in the service, and I'll show that to you. From greetings, we're going to talk about the greetings and when a call actually lands in queue. In queue announcements, and we've all heard the people call them comfort messages or in queue announcements. That's typically, thank you for continuing to hold. Your call is important to us, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you would configure that there. Now, one of the things I will point out is in the announcements, most systems give you the option of 3 or 4 announcements. With ECC, you can stack the announcements through a clever tool, maybe not so clever, but through IVR. And even though the system allows for 20 different messages, I could have 100, because the IVR lets me completely be dynamic. Nobody would ever have 100, but I'm just kind of giving you the thought process here that think about how can you create a dynamic contact center. We're going to talk about that in a moment. This is where you'll find overflow and interflow timers, callback settings, and other business rules. And again, use shifts to change the destination of the service throughout the day. This is something I love to do. So let's take a look at this in more detail, and there's a lot of information here. So in your ECC directory, you're going to go to Services, and you'll notice in the center here, I have a General tab. There's several tabs here, so I'm going to breeze through these in the amount of time we have. Again, if you have questions, pop them into your chat window on the right, or if you need to do a one-on-one because you might have a lengthy discussion, I'm happy to do the discussion one-on-one. Reach out to Susan. So generally speaking, on the General tab, you'll have things like agent selection or how we distribute the call to agents. And I'm going to go through these. These are most common. You have longest idle, terminal, circular. I'll explain these in a moment. And then you have best skill fit. You'll notice under best skill fit, you also have 3 other options. That is because it's very common for agents to possess the same skill proficiency, so you need a tiebreaker, and that's what that is. Down below that, you can enable chat. Down below, you see where it says capabilities, chat. You can enable chat options there, and then you have your timers for wrap up and forced release down below. Now, wrap up is the time. You might know it as after call work if you're on a different system, but that's where you set it here. And the forced release in timeout is when a call is presented to an agent. They don't answer a call in a certain amount of time, it rolls to the next agent. They will be put in forced release, meaning the system says, I'm going to make them unavailable to the queue because I tried to send a call to them and I don't want to do that again if they're not at their desk. Now, most clients have a love-hate relationship with the forced release timeout. So there's kind of a gotcha there. If you extend the forced release to 40 seconds, that means the caller will ring at the agent's desk for 40 seconds. You don't want to do that. It's one of those options that I wish had more flexibility. I'll just point that out. So in terms of queue distribution, the service defines parameters and how interactions are distributed. So you have longest idle, terminal, circular. And I'm going to define these in a moment. Then you have best skill fit, and then you have the tiebreakers. So let's look at these here. Here's where you have the agent selection, longest idle. Let's talk about how I set these parameters. Longest idle basically means assigned to the agent that has been idle the longest. Terminal, most think of terminal as top down. If you have 5 agents, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and always go in that order. However, terminal is assigned to the first available agent in the order the agent is listed in their groups. So you can change the order in the group. We used to do this in the sales environment that I was a part of many years ago. The agent that sold the most timeshares would be top gun, and they get pushed to the top of the group and always got the first opportunity for a call. Now, circular, this is an interesting one. Most folks think of circular as round robin. It's not quite the same. Round robin typically says, deliver my calls to agent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then on the next pass, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, and then 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Now circular in ECC is there's a slight adjustment. It starts with the last agent that received a call and assigns the next available agent. So it's always trying to equally balance calls across agents. Very much like round robin, but a slight little twist there. So I wanted to make sure I point that out. Best skill fit is when it matches the proficiency level, and then if you have two agents that have the same skill parameters, there's a tiebreaker, along with idle, terminal, and circular. So you have options. You're never really stuck.